Um, Please, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little more about you?
Of course. Okay, my name is Claudia Castellanos. I am the co-founder, managing director of Black Mamba, which is a fair trade ethical brand based in Eswatini that manufactures gourmet food products, including chili sauces, chutneys, jams, and pestos. And the very interesting thing about Black Mamba is that it works with a value chain composed of smallholders. We like to do products that are made with fresh ingredients and, what we said, no added nonsense. So no artificial colorants, preservatives, anything artificial on them. And we source our fresh ingredients from local farmers that are trained by a local NGO called UBA in permaculture and green agriculture practices. So we make sure to actually get organically grown ingredients into our products and also to support the smallholders that grow those fresh ingredients.
Okay, that's super lovely. Please, can you walk us through how you got started with Black Mamba Chili?
Black Mamba Chili is it's probably my brainchild. When I started working in Africa, I'm not originally from here. Perhaps with my accent, you already noticed that. I'm originally from Colombia, but I came as a volunteer to Eswatini in 2008. And I had the privilege then to work with a social business. There are several social businesses in Eswatini. They're very important into connection between rural communities and the market. And I had the opportunity to work with a handcraft business called Gone Rural and help them with their experience. I realized that was something that could be replicated also in the agricultural scene. I've been all my life, I love food, anything related to that and development. So I thought, let's just kind of like together then with my now husband, mix those two passions together, the passion for food, the passion for development, and create something that could replicate that business model that I had seen working for handcraft businesses, linkages with rural communities. And then my husband is also crazy about chilies. So it was kind of almost like a no-brainer. It was fun. I always worked in marketing before. The name Black Mamba could actually become something intriguing and interesting, and that would actually capture those two things together. And that's how and why Black Mamba was born.
Wow, that's so great. It's wonderful that it's quite refreshing that your experience in marketing sort of like helped your company grow. When you were talking, you said that you have a passion for people and for empowering the community and all of that. Can you tell us how Black Mamba has done that through your work?
Yes, from the very beginning, we knew, and I knew, that Black Mamba couldn't work any other way. We've had many times the request of the question, why don't you work with like large commercial farmers? Isn't it not more reliable? But for me, the reason of existence of Black Mamba is literally to bring that market linkage for smallholders. So we wouldn't have done it any other way. And the way we work, we were very lucky to partner very soon with an NGO, as I said before, called UBA. UBA is an NGO that works in Eswatini to train communities to become more resilient. And the way they do that is through teaching them organic agriculture and using permaculture techniques. So basically kind of like being able to feed themselves and to grow their own food without having to look for external either artificial inputs or expensive inputs. So we partnered very soon with UBA to become the market linkage for those smallholders that they were training. So one thing that we do through UBA is to provide those communities with knowledge that is used for them first in terms of food security. You know, like Eswatini has always had issues with high rates of HIV. And one of the main things that has come out of that is the fact that a proper nutrition is actually vital to allow you to have a proper healthy lifestyle. So basically part of the program was to teach the farmers how to grow their own food and how to nourish themselves better, but most of them wanted to arrive to a point where they could actually make an income also out of the things that they grew. So Black Mamba comes into place to actually become that market linkage to say, okay, now you're achieve your food security, we want to give you something else in terms of income generation. And that's what we basically do with the farmers. The knowledge part, that it's great actually because the farmers that are part of the value chain also share that knowledge within their own communities, so a lot of more people actually gets that benefit, and also the income that they get out of the produce that they sell to Black Mamba.
That's great. That's great work you're doing. Thank you so much. One question I have is, as a woman in the sector, we don't see more female participation in this sector. In your opinion, what can be done to encourage more female participation in the sector?
There's quite a few things. I would say one thing that I've noticed, and again, I'm not originally from here, but I've had the experience of being in this continent for over 10 years. I believe government really needs to improve at the level of framework and regulations. There's still many countries in Africa, including Eswatini, with the society is very patriarchal. So even the regulations are more towards enforcing men to do income generating activities. So we definitely need to kind of like lobby and push for the government to push for more egalitarian sort of rules and regulations. Another thing that I think is very important is for women in general to have role models. So I think what you guys at Nourishing Africa are doing is amazing. It's just kind of portraying these women that are actually doing something good in terms of agriculture, to say, hey, you know, it can be done. And
Yeah.
it has been done before. And these platforms also become a way of communicating how it's been done. So I think the communication of those cases, the mentoring, I think as women, it's also great to start creating these sort of networks. In Eswatini is very clear. We have many networks with a lot of women entrepreneurs, not necessarily only on agriculture, but women that help each other, that, I don't know, in my case, something really, a good example is like, where can I get this packaging? Or how did you do to actually start exporting? So helping each other really help us to become more and actually seeing that it can be done and it can be successful.
Yeah, so some sort of partnership with other women in the agri space. So that's good.
Sure.
Sorry, Claudia, there's a comment here that says if you could kindly speak up a little. People can hardly hear you.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll speak. You know what I'm gonna do? Hold on. Because
Okay.
I have a huge echo here, so I'm just gonna open the door so there's not so much echo. And then I can
Okay.
speak louder. I hope that's better.
Okay. All right. So I want to focus more on your entrepreneurial journey. So what are some of the major problems or challenges you faced in scaling Black Mamba Chili, and how were you able to mitigate this?
And I guess a lot of entrepreneurs will agree with me that being a small business is tough, and in Africa it's even tougher. I think three main things I would say will be the main sort of hiccups that we have in the scaling the business. The first one, everybody will agree with me, is the access to capital. You know, in order to grow, you need to actually have some capital, and um, I find it quite complicated at some point, either because banks have conditions that might not be great for SMEs, or because investors obviously want already a certain level of turnover or a certain level of profit that you have before deciding to trust you. So I think access to finance is definitely something very tricky to navigate. But in the case of Black Mamba, we've tried every source. I would recommend to entrepreneurs to look into different sources. I like even from family and friends, which is where we all start. Just if somebody believes in your idea and you translate that idea with enough passion and knowledge of what you're doing, because I always believe passion is not enough. You have to actually learn and understand what you're doing. But that would be a first source of financing, having a great business plan that you can actually go and present to banks for financing, apply to grants. In Africa, we have the privilege to actually have many grants going around. So start researching, going online, talking to your networks of other women entrepreneurs. So that would be one hindrance. Another thing I would say is also sometimes the disconnection to markets. Black Mamba is an export business, mostly because our sort of market in Eswatini is very small. It's a small country. So if you want to create volumes, you need to start exporting very soon. So we are very disconnected to the main markets. And that sometimes can create some sort of issue because you're not able to go and see your customers face to face. You're not able to go and talk and create that sort of personal relationship. But again, I guess nowadays there's technology to do that, like we're doing. We're not face to face, but still we are kind of like talking to each other. And another thing I would say is the knowledge. You see, like I see from personal experience, when I started working with Black Mamba, I knew a lot about marketing. I didn't know anything about agriculture. So building that sort of knowledge, it also takes time. So the way we've been actually working with that is, don't be afraid of asking, be curious, learn, study, and surround yourself with partners or friends of people that understand things that you don't know. So you can start actually getting that sort of knowledge that you need in order to scale.
Yeah. Thank you so much. What's your vision for Black Mamba Chile? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see the business in the next 5 years?
Oh, wow. I would say we always joke about that, but at Black Mamba, we are in the quest for Chile world domination. So in 5 years, I want to have Black Mamba all over the place. I want everybody to know about this amazing African brand, bringing all over the world to people that love food that is ethically done and people that love heat. So that's sort of the vision in terms of the brand. But I think a more internal vision is for other countries to see that there's a business model that is very inclusive and very good to the environment that could be replicable to other countries and other markets. So it's almost kind of like, if we succeed, we can actually show other countries it can be done. We can actually succeed. We can create a great African brand that is actually very environmentally friendly and very inclusive of communities. And that's sort of the more deep dream, to actually have the model replicated and have people understand that you can create something amazing while still caring for communities and the environment.
That's great. That's wonderful. I know you've already given advice in terms of funding and being able to learn and all of that. But I would like for you to advise agripreneurs. Um, what other advice do you have for agripreneurs in the field?
I'm a firm believer, especially under the new circumstances, everything that has been happening in the past months and weeks, that Africa has a big role to play in the future of the world, whatever it looks like, in the post-COVID world. And I think because we have amazing resources in Africa, it's about time we take ownership of those resources and everything we have, and we use it for the better. So I've always think that one of my best advice is to make sure that whatever you do as an agripreneur, you always use a triple bottom line, what you call the approach that you look. Like, we need to kind of like reset that sort of, I don't know, for me it's more like a myth of crazy growth. We need to grow, grow, grow. And no matter how we do it, I think it's very important that we start taking into consideration the triple bottom line in terms of planet, people, and profit. The only way that we as a continent can grow is by taking others together in our growth, Like, you can only walk far if you walk together. And I think when you create that sort of business model that is inclusive, that is based for agripreneurs in green agriculture, an agriculture that is actually taking care of the planet, you are really doing something great, not only for yourself, but for everybody, not only for us as Africans, but for the whole planet. So I would say just always taking into consideration the triple bottom line is the way to go forward with a healthy sort of growth and development.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So last question. In your opinion, how can agripreneurs ensure that they are shaping the agriculture and food ecosystem in Africa?
Yo, working hard. Working hard, I think what I've seen so many projects lately that take into consideration, as I said before, and maybe I'm very repetitive and boring, but it's very close to my heart, the environment, doing practices that are good, that are sustainable. I believe sustainability is one of the main things that are going to come in this post-COVID world. So whatever you do in terms of shaping the future of Africa in agriculture, we need to think about sustainability. And also because the markets are demanding sustainability. The more you look into market trends for food, people nowadays are looking to know how the food is being made and where it's come from. So if you can actually show that it's been done in a way that doesn't harm the environment, that includes people within, like communities, then you're talking about a really good way of shaping the future of the continent. I think for me, the two main words that I use all the time are sustainability, and even more than sustainability, I would say regeneration of our biodiversity.
Well, I think there's a network issue. Let's give it some time. Hi.
Sorry. Internet in Eswatini. So the last thing I would say, inclusiveness, because one of the main issues that Africa has is a huge inequality. So unless you really start including communities in the work you do as an entrepreneur or as an agripreneur, we're never going to reach that sort of equality that we are aiming towards. So inclusive.
And the network is bad again. Let's give it some time to reconnect. We're trying to get her back. Okay, here you are.
Here I am.
So yeah, before we wrap up the live, there's a question here for you actually from Ify. She says, you rarely hear about Eswatini. Why did you decide to settle there?
It's a great question, and I get that asked a lot of times. It's like Eswatini, and the first question is like, where is that? Because obviously the name of the country is very new, so people is like, where do you live? Where is Eswatini? I say Eswatini chose me, literally. As I said before, I got here as a volunteer, and I really, really, really wanted to come to Africa. So when they offered me this possibility of coming to build capacity for a social business, it was in Eswatini, back then Swaziland. I didn't think twice. I said, it's Africa. That's where I am. That's where my heart is. I want to go there. And the reason why I think you don't hear a lot about Eswatini is it's a very small country. It's a country that has, I think, 1.5 million people. It's a country that is very rural, a country that has 60% of the population below the poverty line. So it's probably a little bit more complicated to actually work on development when we have such a small sort of market and framework to work with. But that makes it even more exciting, and it's a great challenge to be able to take the country out of this sort of like cloud of poverty where it is and try to create business or income generating opportunities for people. It's a great testing ground for sure. And it's a beautiful country.
Thank you for being such a pro Africa.
100%.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for educating and inspiring us. This has been lovely. Thank you so much. We love the work you do with Black Mamba Foods. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was so much fun. I love to share a story because I hope that I can translate a little bit the passion that I have for what we do, for the agriculture and for the continent, and show other entrepreneurs that it can be done. It can be done. And platforms, again, like Nourishing Africa, are doing a great job into putting us in perspective, giving us a voice, giving us a platform to actually meet and connect with other entrepreneurs. So the only last thing I want to say is that I can see a very bright future for all of us.